Fantastic lineup. Now, before we jump in, I want to take a moment to thank our sponsors for today, fabulous sponsors, MetLife, Square, the Dallas Business Journal, and of course, the host, the Irving-Las Colinas Chamber of Commerce. Thank you so much for making today happen. Also, absolutely, a round of applause. That's making this possible today. I also want to give a shout out to one special guest that we have in the audience today. Mayor Stopfer of Irving is stopping by this morning, so do make sure that you say hello. One more thank you that we want to offer before we get going here. Ian Mclane of Highland Landscaping. He's a member of the Chamber Small Business Council. Thank you so much to Ian for helping spread the word in the great state of Texas about today's event. Yeah, that's right. Shout out to Ian. All right, now it's time to get things started. Our first speaker today, former Dallas Cowboys safety Darren Woodson. Not only a 3-time Super Bowl champion and a 5-time Pro Bowler, he is also an entrepreneur and has started his own small businesses. On top of that, I found out he is a really good dresser. He's charming and appears to be in pretty good physical condition. Ladies and gentlemen, Darren Woodson.
Well, thank you. First of all, I want to thank the Irving-Las Colinas. It's weird saying it that way, but the Irving-Las Colinas Chamber of Commerce. I remember when it was just the city of Irving. I remember that. And then it was Las Colinas. It was just, and I've been here since 1992. I got drafted as a Dallas Cowboy. How many Cowboy fans are in the house today? Good. That's a good thing, because I used to live right down the street in Jefferson Park as a 21-year-old rookie of the Dallas Cowboys. First time I got money in my pocket, actual money in my pocket. But a reason why I wanted to talk to you guys today was when we talk about small business, and I am a small business owner. I am the CEO, founder of a startup here locally in Dallas called Counterfind. And I understand what it feels like to start a business. And you understand what it feels like to ride a wave. If you ever rode a wave, you're up and down, all over the place. Sometimes you just don't sleep. But the one thing I had to understand, as far as making the transition from the NFL and the Dallas Cowboys, in which I played 13 years, to the business world was, thank you, I appreciate that. The only Cowboy fan, real true Cowboy fan in the house. But the one transition that I had to make was understanding change and accepting hard change. And I want to give you an example of hard change. Who remembers the Dallas Cowboys in the 70s and 80s when Tom Landry was the head coach? How many of us remember Coach Landry? Okay, so a lot of us remember Coach Landry. Well, let me tell you who Coach Landry was. Coach Landry was called the great innovator. Probably the greatest coach to ever coach the game of football. 20 straight winning seasons. Now, understand this. If you understand this, you got to understand this in the NFL. 20 straight winning seasons. That means every season this man was pretty much in the playoffs. We all know who Bill Belichick is today, right? Tom Landry was the Bill Belichick of the 70s and the 80s. They call him the great innovator. They call him the guy who was the man who created what we call the 43 defense. And he created it in the late 60s. 43 defense, they're still running the 43 defense. Every team is running some version of the 43 defense. That's how great Tom Landry was. Not only was he a great coach, but he was great in the community of Dallas. And everyone knew him in the city of Dallas. Tom Landry was so bad. Bad isn't good. That they just put his hat up now. I mean, it's like Jordan in that Nike swoosh. If you just see Coach Landry's hat, you see it on the highway, you know that they don't have to put his face up there or say, Tom, just put his hat up there, and they say, yep, that's Coach Landry. That's how bad of a man he was. But this is the thing about Coach Landry. As great as he was, he went through 3 losing seasons at the end of the 80s. 86, 87, 88. They go through what we would call tough seasons. His last season, they go 3-13. Jerry Jones comes in. You guys know who Jerry Jones is? Jerry Jones, upstart guy from Arkansas, buys the Dallas Cowboys football team. He buys the team. The first thing he does is he fires the great Tom Landry. And Dallas goes crazy. You can't fire Coach Landry. Well, that's what Jerry does. Jerry fires Coach Landry, and he brings in a young coach, college coach named Jimmy Johnson. You guys remember Jimmy Johnson? Jimmy Johnson is a college coach at the University of Miami. Jerry goes and gets him, brings him in, again, fires Coach Landry, and he starts all over again. And the first day Jimmy Johnson takes the job, he calls in all the players, all 53 players on that football team, in a meeting room similar to this, over here in Valley Ranch. And you guys remember the Randy Whites and the Ed Too Tall Jones, those great players. You guys remember those guys? Okay, so there were some of the great Dallas Cowboys players who were all under Coach Landry's regime through the years. Jimmy comes in and tells them, hey, look, I'm the new guy. Things are going to be different. Accepting hard change. Here we go. Coach Landry didn't have an off-season program. Jimmy Johnson stood up there and said, we are going to start an off-season program, meaning every day during the off-season, starting from March through July, you will train here. And not only that, but in July, mid-July, right before training camp, we're going to have what we call a conditioning test. And I want you to remember this conditioning test that he just said. We're going to have a conditioning test. And he's telling the entire team. The team says, yeah, okay, whatever. 53 men in this room. All of them had played under Coach Landry. Coach Landry's philosophy was, the season ends, I want you to go home and spend time with your family. If you're from California, you go home to California and you show up for training camp. Didn't believe in an off-season program. So Jimmy stands up there and says, no, you don't go home. You stay here and train. And it would behoove you to be here. The meeting ends. I'd say 30% of the guys stayed around, listened to what Jimmy had to say. The other 70 went home. Took off. Said, you know what? Coach Landry, greatest coach of all. Never had to stay around. I'll be ready for training camp. Off-season program goes on. 30% stay. July shows up. What did I say was going to happen? Conditioning test. They have a conditioning test. They're running what we call 110s from the back of the end zone to the 1 yard line. They do it 16 times. And it's timed, meaning you better be running. Half the guys are falling out. That 70% that didn't show up in the offseason, didn't go through the training, falling out on the field. And Jimmy, if you knew who Jimmy was, and Jimmy was, he's about that tall, but tough as nails. Jimmy was on the field yelling and screaming. One guy in particular fell down. He couldn't get up. And Coach Jimmy Johnson walked up and said, what's wrong? The guy said, I can't breathe, Coach. And he says, what's wrong with you then? He says, well, I have asthma, Coach. And he says, you know where the asthma field is? And he pointed towards the parking lot. And I can't say what he said, but he said, you go on over to the parking lot. That entire year, he was transitioning players. The league had never seen so many players on one team go in and out of an organization. Every week he was bringing new players in, working them out to see if they could fit the mold of what he wanted. The team went 1-15 under Jimmy Johnson in his first year. 1-15. Y'all didn't hear me. They won one game. The next year, they got better. In 92, when I came in, we went to the championship. And the one thing I understood as when I came in, they talked about the history. And this is how I know this story, because they talked about the history of this organization. You had Troy Aikman and the Emmitt Smiths and the Michael Irvins. Troy Aikman and Michael Irvin, they went through that 1 in 15 year. They knew what it felt like to see teammates come and go. But the one thing Jimmy wanted were people that were going to believe in his system. See, the players, half those players, the Randy Whites, who I love, the Ed Too Tall Jones, who I love, they didn't buy into what Jimmy was preaching because they were stuck in their old ways. Jimmy wanted people that were going to follow him. Half the guys didn't accept change, but those who accepted the change, they had to wait it out. They had to go through some rough times. Michael Irvin had to go through some rough times. Troy Aikman had to go through some rough times to see the light. So in 1992, what do? Championship. 93, people that bought into Jimmy Johnson. Championship, back-to-back championships. And then Jerry Jones stepped in with the ego, who I love Jerry, but he stepped in with his ego and he fired Jimmy Johnson, which is absolutely ridiculous. Yes. But we had a chance to win 4 or 5 straight Super Bowls. But the reason why I tell you this is because at some point in your small business, you're going to have to accept change and you may have to pivot. You may just have to pivot. Things don't always go the way you want it to go. They don't. They're forever changing. In my small business, we're forever changing. The industry never stays the same. I have sleepless nights every day. Had one last night. But I believe in what I'm doing, and I'm grinding it out. I will continue to grind it out. That's one of the reasons why we talked about coming. They asked me to come here. That's one of the things I wanted to talk to you about because I see it every day. I see businesses fall and fail because they're not willing to accept change. When things start to happen, they got to be willing to do so. Also, I wanted to give you what I got 5 minutes. I'm going to give you what I call my 4 C's, and I want to figure out if this is who you are. Just figure out if this is who you are. I call it the 4 C's. And I learned this in my time in the NFL. And I'll give you some of the stories about those 4 C's. Number 1, content. Content. Content is failure. Content, C-O-N-T-E-N-T. I got to spell it sometimes. Some athletes in here, sometimes I got to. I'm just saying. Yeah, I'm pointing to myself. But the reason why I say content is this. Content shows up, and I'm going to tell you the person that's content. The meeting starts at 7 o'clock. Content will show up at 7:05. Content will be on the cell phone while the meeting started. He'll just walk on in the meeting. He or she will walk in the meeting while the meeting's going on. Probably got headphones in. Meeting starts at 7:30, getting there at 7:35. That's content. You cannot rely on that person that's content. And if you are the content one, yes, you are the virus. Content doesn't dream. Content is not a team member. Content will get you fired. You bring on someone that's content, your job is on the line. Content will drag the entire team down. Trust me, I played with them. I had guys I played with, and there was a time where we were the champs, Super Bowl champs, and there was a time where we went 3 straight years of 5-11. And Jerry Jones and his staff, when they fired Jimmy Johnson, they started drafting content players. Just happy to be a Dallas Cowboy. And you started to see it around here. Guys getting in trouble, going to jail. You saw it. Those are the content ones. Can't win with content. Compliant. It's the next one. Meeting starts at 8 o'clock. Compliant will be here at 8 o'clock. Don't ask compliant to do anything. Like compliant and content will not volunteer to do anything for you. You guys have a team party, They will not be there to help clean up afterwards. Trust me on that. You know some compliant ones, don't we? But they're going to, you tell them to do something, they'll do it. And that's it. Project is due next Tuesday. It's on your desk next Tuesday. It's not going to be there early. Compliant doesn't dream either. And compliant is not a team member. Compliant will get you beat. Compliant get you fired too. If you're willing to scale, if you're looking to scale, you bring in someone that's just willing to do what it takes. You'll never scale the right way. Because content and compliant aren't all the way on board. And I only have a minute and 30 seconds, so I got to get through this. Committed. Committed is not bad. You know what? You can win some championships with committed, because I won at least one championship in 1995. We won it with a committed football team. And I like committed. Meeting starts at 8 o'clock. Committed will get there, 7:55, 7:50. You really don't have to ask committed to do things. You don't have to encourage committed. Committed will just show up, because committed will get up in the morning and say, you know what, this is what I do. I like what I do, and I want to support the team. If we're willing to scale, I'll be there to scale. And sometimes with committed, you really don't have to ask committed to stay around afterwards. Committed will be there for you. Yeah, that's what they do. They're team players. You guys heard of that before? That person that's committed, he's a team player. He or she is a team player. Do just enough. And they'll tell you, hey, I was there. You guys ever been around someone that's committed? Someone that's committed will always tell you, hey, we had an event, I was there cleaning up afterwards. That's committed. Compelled. That's the one you want. Because compelled, you don't have to call compelled in the morning and say the meeting's at 8 o'clock. Compelled will be there at 7:15. Getting work done. Compelled will bring you up. Compelled will make you better. You ever been around that person that's compelled, that they walk in that room and you say, you know what, there's something about Roger Staubach. You guys know who Roger Staubach is? Roger Staubach walks in the room compelled. There's energy, instant energy. That's what you want. That's what wins championships, is when you bring in people that are compelled, that want to be a part of success, that will lift you up as a business owner. That's what you're looking for. I'm done. My time is up. And that's you know what, Liz? That's your fault, because you didn't put enough time on the clock. But that's what you're looking for. You're looking for compelled people. You want to surround yourself with them. Grab as many of them as you can. As workers, as friends. And that's what I have with my small business. People that are much smarter than me and have the same or even more drive than I do. And thanks for the message here. I'm sorry.
Nice job. Nice job. Let's chat. Oh, goodness, I want to do push-ups right now. We should all just do push-ups. I just feel like we could get our highest reps out ever. Hey, we're going to try to have a couple of minutes here at the end of this, so if you have a question for Darren, you can be thinking about that now. We will have some mic runners to get you a mic so you can get your question in. I'm curious, your transition from the NFL, you accomplished so much. When you go into the world of entrepreneurship, you're a rookie all over again. You probably have some pretty high standards for yourself. Tell us about a low moment early on in the journey where you thought, oh, goodness, this isn't going the way I thought.
Well, I think that's a great question, because when you play I played football since I was 7 years old. It's all I've known. And when I retired, I was 36. So I was used to competing at a high level. And it's great to have that competitive alpha dog mentality when you're in the locker room. Mm-hmm. That's one thing. But then that's the climate in the NFL. You have that type of attitude. And you always know, okay, well, if we lose on Sunday, we have Monday and, to right the ship. Or we have another 6-7 days and we can right the ship and maybe get a win the next time around. But in business, it doesn't work that way. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I'm curious, with that, in what way do you still now having experienced success in your own small business, you wake up in the morning and think, Darren Woodson's got to be better at what?
Darren Woodson, that's every day I have to grind. I feel like I have every day is, how do we get better as a team? It's not about how I get better. It's because it's not about I. It's about, the 5 team members that I have on my team that I work with on a day-to-day basis. I want to see them prosper. And that's the feeling that I want. I want to see, the employees that I have, the partners that I have, I want to see them prosper and win, is even more so than myself. That's what drives me on a day-to-day basis. And I can honestly say this. I have four kids. I have a 17-year-old boy that lives at the house. He's at the house with me every day. My older two are gone. 24, he's in Los Angeles, and I have a daughter that's at University of Texas. And then I have a 2-year-old, which I started all over again. So yeah, trust me.
Goodness. Guys, let's take a moment to pray.
Pray
Lord Jesus. Okay.
Jesus.
All right, you got it.
Yeah, I'll feel you. But I have a 17-year-old that is at Jesuit High School, and he doesn't really remember. And it's been a while since I played, and it's been 11 years since I played in the NFL. He doesn't remember so much the football side, but he knows the entrepreneur in me, and he knows that entrepreneur is going to get up at 5 o'clock, go get a quick workout, get to the office. He knows all my team members, and he knows the grind. He understands that every day Dad puts in work. And there are no days, especially with a startup and what I'm doing now, there are no days off. We grind it all the way through. And that's my proudest moment. It's not about the football side of it. It's that he sees me, his father, live life a certain way. And if that can rub off on him more so than the athletic side, I can care, because the athletic side at some point is going to be over with.
Right.
You're going to run out of talent. But the mental fortitude that you have on a day-to-day basis, that never wears out. And that's what I want to show him.
Okay, so I want to dig a little deeper into the grind for a second, because I think a lot of us feel motivated when you hear Darren say he loves the grind. However, there are probably folks out here who we look at you and we see an NFL star. And so, the grass is always greener, right? You look at other people's situations and you think, well, sure, it's easy for him to love the grind because he's probably experiencing success that I'm not. To someone out there who woke up this morning and thought, goodness, I don't even know if this business will ever become profitable. And they have a little more trouble loving the grind. What would you say to them?
Look, we're all in the same boat. Don't act like we're not all in the same boat. I mean, I'm in the same boat as you. It's every day I wake up and I say, you know what, damn, here we go again. There's that negativity that surrounds you all the time. You have to get through the negativity, because your worst enemy is your brain. That is your worst enemy in every situation. And I can say it, I got to speak directly to who I am and maybe give you, because I can't speak to who you guys are. I have to overcome myself and the doubts that I have on a daily basis. And we just, like you said, and we're talking about Jesus. Hey, listen, I pray every day. Every morning I'm up praying. But I have to overcome the fears that I have. And I know I played at a high, people say, well, you played at a high level. You played in the biggest games. And we're still human, and we're still going to have the same doubts. We have to overcome those doubts in order to prosper, to get even better. And when I say the grind, I mean, I have to find, there was a time in my life where I was focused on my weaknesses, especially when I got done playing football. In football, you always think, how do I get better? How do I get better? How do I cover up my weaknesses? And my life has always been that way until I met Roger Staubach. Well, I've known Roger Staubach, but I had a strong conversation with Roger. He said, look, once you focus on your good. And that was life-changing for me. Because I know the negatives are there. I may never be great at those things that I'm weak at, but maybe I cover them up by bringing in people that can help me with that situation. But focus on the positives. What makes me special? That's good. And I think that's what we all should do. Just focus. There's a lot of times we got to focus on the good of what we do and even strengthen them even more. But, stop worrying about the negatives that we have in our lives.
All right, we're going to open it up for a couple questions. If you have a question, get your hand up. My last question for you, just doing a quick physical assessment. Do you eat sugar? Or is it just, are you morally opposed to it? I need to know what you're doing.
Oh, man, that's a good question. You know what? That's because my wife is a vegan.
Oh, Lord. Okay. Again, guys, let's pray. Yeah, and vegan, yes, hallelujah. Some of us are addicted to sugar. I had Twizzlers yesterday,
yeah,
you know what I mean?
Hey, trust me now.
Okay.
I love myself some sugar. No, go ahead, I'm sorry.
All right, first question that we've got right over there. Tell us who you are. Tell us what company you're with.
Sure. Lisa Ferraro, Self-Synthesize. I've got a question. When you're looking at an interview with a person, what are the signs that you know that's a compelled person?
You know what, Lisa, that's a great question. That's probably the hardest part, is because when you're in an interview situation, it's a controlled setting. And it's easy to say, well, that person's going to sell themselves, and they're going to put on that salesman hat. And you have to go through that process and ask them the questions that I feel like I have to ask questions that pertain to exactly what I need them for. Not everything else. This is the role that you're going to play within this company, and be real about that. In that interview process, is telling them this is what you're going to do. This is what I expect of you, and then dig deep. But, it's hard, because sometimes I brought on people that I thought, oh, man, this guy's perfect for the job. Actually, it was a she. I don't want to put her name out. But she is perfect for the job. And 2 months later, you're thinking, no, you are content. As a matter of fact, you're not even close to compelled. Now, you're going to hit some, you're going to miss some. And the Cowboys and all 31 teams are going through that right now. They call it the draft.
Yep, right.
And the NFL draft is coming up, and you guys will see it here. It'll be at the AT&T Stadium. And every year they have, 1,000 players that could be drafted, or whatever the number is. And every team is looking for those compelled players. And they go through the interview process, and they interview all these guys. They say, yeah, that's the guy. He's compelled. He fits perfectly with our team. And then they get him in, and they're like, no. They're not ready to play. So, it's not just me. It's all across the board. You're going to have some hit and misses, but stick to what you do.
All right, we got time for one more quick question right out front. Your name and what company you're with.
Hello, my name is Nikki Harper. I'm the Director of Sales for Staybridge Pizza in the Colony. And my question is, you start a new business, and you put everything aside to start this business, but financially.
Yeah.
And in the business, you hit a bump. And for the financial side, the money is coming. You got contracts coming in. You got employees working for you. All the money that you have coming in right now, you're taking care of everybody else. But your household is lacking. So do you go find another job to kind of sustain you while you get through? Or do you keep grinding in your own business until it happens?
Well, Nikki, I think everyone's situation is different. I mean, everyone, and I can't, just speak to yours in particular, but everyone's situation is different in that situation. Sometimes, hey, look, the bills need to get paid. Let's call it what it is. The bills need to get paid, Nikki. You better get the bills paid. And sometimes you may have to take on something extra to do so. I just think that if you have faith in your business, you keep grinding on your business. And sometimes people have to work 24/7.
Yeah.
And that's one thing, I've encountered through the process of getting into a startup, is that not everyone's committed to waking up early in the morning. Not everyone's so committed about staying up really late to getting the job done. I have a 17-year-old boy right now. He's had 3 tests in the last week. And he's on the verge of content, like I was telling you, that content. When it comes to school, because he has 3 tests, and he won't sleep, he feels like he needs to go to sleep at 11 o'clock. And I tell him, son, you have 3 tests this week. Damn sleep. You figure it out. And that's what I think. My mother used to say one thing, and this will be the end of what I'm saying to you. My mother, who is a godsend to me, has taught me one thing, and I hold it dear to me, to my heart every day. She always says, sleep is the cousin of death. Oh. When you die, you can sleep as much as you want.
Oh, boy.
But when you wake up in the morning and God gives you that blessing and waking up and your eyes open and your feet hit the ground, you better be running. And that's my lifestyle.
Come on, there we go. Darren Woodson, everybody. Thanks so much, man. It was great chatting with you.